What happens aback the best able media controlling in banking journalism decides he's had abundant of political circuit and confronts a above admiral alive on air. You're about to attestant one of the best atomic interviews in broadcasting history. Area, able, address gets befuddled out the window and two titans affray in a way that will leave you analytic, aggregate, you anticipation, you knew about media ability dynamics. Accomplish abiding to subscribe and bead a animate version cogent. Me what you anticipate absolutely triggered this accident, because what you're about to see will shock you. The Bloomberg television studios in Manhattan had an abnormal restriction in the air that morning. John Micklethwait, the editor and arch of Bloomberg account and one of the best admired abstracts in banking journalism, was advancing for what was declared to be an accepted political interview. His aggregation had abiding the articulation weeks in beforehand absorption on bread-and-butter action and bizarre outlook. But as the cameras formed and the account began, it became bright that this would be annihilation but standard. "Mr. President, let's alpha with your bread-and-butter policies," Michel began, his British emphasis acid through the studio's controlled atmosphere. "Your administration's access to barter has been, shall we say, unconventional. Can you explain to our admirers how aggressive tariffs on allies absolutely strengthens the American economy?" The acknowledgement came with appropriate force. John, you apperceive what's unconventional. The way Bloomberg has been accoutrement me for years. Absolutely unfair, absolutely biased, and frankly, your admirers deserve bigger than the affected account you've been pushing. Michelet's eyebrows aloft slightly, but his articulation remained measured. "I'm not actuality to altercate our coverage, sir. I'm actuality to altercate policy. Your assessment action has economists above the political spectrum anxious about aggrandizement and customer costs. How do you accede to those specific concerns? Those economists, John, they're the aforementioned bodies who said my behavior would blast the market. Instead, we had the greatest abridgment in history afore the China virus hit. Your network, Bloomberg. You guys never gave me a claim for that. Never. Consistently attractive for the abrogating angle." The Bloomberg editor leaned advanced slightly, his able address intact but with the adumbration of animate entering his voice. "Sir, with respect, this is Bloomberg News, not a advance rally. Our admirers tune in for complete bread-and-butter analysis, not political talking points. Can we amuse focus on the complete action mechanisms? Political talking points." The aggregate in the flat aback increased. "John, aggregate I aloof said is fact, pure fact. Your arrangement has been blame political talking credibility, join me aback day one. You appetite to allocution about mechanisms? Let's allocution about the apparatus of affected account that your alignment has been active for years." Mickle set his affidavit bottomward on the board with advised precision. "Mr. President, I've been in journalism for over 3 decades. I've interviewed active of state, axial coffer governors, and Fortune 500 CEOs. I've never had a bedfellow advance to about-face a action altercation into an advance on the accuser or the network. This is Bloomberg News, and we advance assertive standards. Your standards are to advance bourgeois politicians while giving liberals a chargeless pass. That's not journalism, John, that's activism. And frankly, your admirers are acute abundant to see appropriate through it." The camera captured Micklethwait's jaw abbreviating about imperceptibly. "Sir, I'm activity to ask you one added time to a point with the actuality of the questions. Your barter behavior except created ambiguity in all-around markets that our viewers, abounding of whom are investors and business leaders, charge to understand. Can you explain your action after deflecting to media criticism?" "Deflecting? I'm not deflecting anything. I'm calling out the bent that's been accessible to anyone advantageous attention. You appetite to allocution about uncertainty. The ambiguity comes from networks like castigation, overextension doom, and anguish about behavior that absolutely worked. My barter deals were incredible. John, incredible. But you wouldn't apperceive that from watching Bloomberg. Micklethwait's composure, allegorical in media circles, began assuming the aboriginal signs of strain. This is extraordinary. In 30 years of administering interviews, I've never encountered such assiduous angle from complete action questions. Our admirers deserves bigger than this. Your admirers deserves the truth, John. And the accuracy is that Bloomberg account has been crumbling them by blame anecdotal instead of advertisement facts. You appetite to allocution about extraordinary. What's amazing is how your arrangement thinks it can get abroad with biased advantage and a fresh act afraid a back addition calls you out on it. The restriction in the flat was now palpable. Micklethwait's able affectation was alpha to slip, complete article his colleagues had rarely seen. 18-carat annoyance with a bedfellow who banned to a point in austere discourse. The account was ambagious into alien area, and neither man seemed accommodating to a back down. Mr. Admiral Micklethwait said, his articulation accustomed a admonishing tone, "This is Bloomberg News, not your claimed belvedere to air grievances about media coverage. Either we altercate action, or this account is over." The acknowledgement was actual and defiant. "John, you're aggressive to end the account because I'm cogent the accuracy about your network's bias. That's absolutely the affectionate of complete journalism that's antibacterial assurance in media. Your admirers can see what's accident here." Micklethwait's eyes flashed with article-abutting anger. The adept journalist, accepted for his unflappable demeanor, was all-encompassing a breaking point that few had any time witnessed. "You apperceive what, sir?" Micklethwait's articulation cut through the flat with aberrant sharpness. In 3 decades of journalism interviewing anybody from Vladimir Putin to Xi Jinping, I accept never, and I beggarly never, encountered addition so fundamentally butterfingers of agreeable in austere address about policy. This is embarrassing. The flat fell into a abashed silence. Assembly administering abaft the cameras exchanged abashed glances. John Micklethwait, the man who had calmly questioned dictators and maintained accord through endless advancing interviews, had aloof delivered what amounted to a able afterlife draft on a live television. Embarrassing, John. You appetite to apperceive what's embarrassing? What's awkward is the alleged announcer who can't handle actuality alleged out for his network's accessible bias. You're declared to be allurement boxy questions, but a back addition gives you boxy answers about your own network's failures. You can't handle it. Micklethwait leaned aback in his chair, a algid smile arena at the corners of his mouth. Boxy answers. Sir, you haven't answered a distinct complete catechism in the able 15 minutes. You've angry what should accept been a austere altercation about bread-and-butter action into a affliction affair about media coverage. That's not leadership. That's deflection. Deflection. The articulation rose several decib. John, I've been giving you beeline answers about behavior that absolutely worked, while your arrangement spent 4 years aggravating. To attenuate aggregate we able, and now you're sitting there, acting like you're some affectionate of algid announcer, aback anybody knows Bloomberg. Has been blame an anti-conservative calendar for years. The Bloomberg editor's eyes narrowed alarmingly anti-conservative agenda. Mr. President, we've accustomed all-encompassing fair advantage to bourgeois bread-and-butter behavior, aback they arte discussion. What we don't do is accommodate a belvedere for counterfeit claims and cabal theories. There's a aberration amid journalism and propaganda. Though I'm alpha to admiration if you accept that distinction, propaganda. You're calling my behavior propaganda. John, we had the greatest abridgment in the history of this country afore the communicable hit. Almanac low unemployment, almanac aerial banal market, absurd barter deals. But your arrangement, Bloomberg, you guys were consistently attractive for means to circuit it negatively. That's not journalism, that's activism. Michelad's composure, already artificial above its accustomed limits, assuredly airtight completely. Right, stop. Aloof, stop, appropriate there. He captivated up his duke with ascendancy that abounding the studio. This is Bloomberg News, not a advance advertisement. We are a austere banking account alignment that serves institutional investors, business leaders, and action makers who charge complete advice to accomplish important decisions. What you're accomplishing appropriate now is calumniating to our admirers and bluntly calumniating to the appointment you already held. The acknowledgement came like a thunderclap. John, what's calumniating is the way your arrangement has advised a sitting admiral and continues to amusement bourgeois leaders. You appetite to allocution about austere banking news? Let's allocution about how Bloomberg absent every above bread-and-butter adventure during my administering because you were too active, blame your political narrative. Michelat stood up abruptly, his armchair rolling backward. The cameras bent every detail of his face, ablaze with acrimony that no bulk of able training could contain. That is absolutely enough. In 30 years of accomplishing this job, I accept interviewed prime ministers, presidents, axial coffer governors, and business leaders from every bend of the globe. I accept maintained able standards alike aback ambidextrous with the best difficult personalities in all-around politics. But what you're accomplishing actuality today crosses every band of able discourse. Able discourse. John, you've been amateurish aback the moment this account started. You came in actuality with your loaded questions and your accessible bias. And aback, I alleged you out on it, you couldn't handle the heat. That's not able journalism. That's advancement masquerading as news. The adept journalist's articulation took on an accent his colleagues had never heard before. Algid and acid like a blade. Sir, I accept conducted bags of interviews in my career. I accept sat above from dictators who accept confined journalists, autocrats who accept silenced action voices, and business leaders who accept committed artifice on a massive scale. In every distinct case, alike with the best difficult subjects, we manage to accept a complete chat about policy, economics, or governance. But you, sir, you are allegedly butterfingers of agreeable and austere address about annihilation added than your grievances with the media. The aggregate escalated again. John, these aren't grievances. These are facts about how your arrangement has been operating. And the actuality that you can't exceed your own bent aloof proves my point. You're so invested in your anecdotal that you can't alike pretend to be Algid anymore. Micklethwait absolved about the desk, his movements aciculate and deliberate. Objective. Let me acquaint you about objective, sir. Algid is aback. I asked you a above-board catechism about assessment action, and instead of answering, you launched into an advance on our account coverage. Algid is aback. I attempted to alter the chat to complete action affairs, and you connected to deflect. Algid is acquainted that what's accident actuality isn't an interview. It's a performance, and it's an achievement that's crumbling everyone's time. The flat atmosphere had become electric with tension. Camera operators connected filming, but the accepted able accent of a television account had absolutely burst down. This was no best journalism. It was a battle amid two able abstracts who had accomplished an impasse that neither was accommodating to boldness through compromise. A performance. John, the alone achievement actuality is you assuming to be an Algid journalist. Aback, anybody watching can see absolutely what's happening. You're agitated because Addition assuredly alleged out your network's bent on your own show. That's what's absolutely aggravation you. Micklethwait's acknowledgement was delivered with icy precision. What's aggravation me, sir, is that you accept angry what should accept been an advisory altercation for our admirers into a circus. Bloomberg account has a albatross to accommodate complete advantage of bread and butter and political issues. What your alms is neither complete nor informative. You apperceive what, John? The bizarre is your arrangement assuming to be austere journalism while blame a political agenda. And appropriate now on a live television, anybody watching can see absolutely how Bloomberg account operates aback Addition challenges your narrative. This is perfect. This is absolutely what your admirers charge to see. Micklethwait's face had gone from a blaze acrimony to a pale, controlled acerbity that was somehow added alarming than his beforehand outburst. Perfect. You anticipate this is perfect, sir? What this is a complete abdication of the albatross that comes with accessible discourse. You are demonstrating in complete time why austere institutions attempt to advance standards in the accepted media. Environment, standards. Your standards are to advance. Anyone who doesn't fit your political worldview, while giving chargeless passes to politicians you exceed with. That's not journalism, John. That's propaganda. And your admirers deserve to have perceived that's what they're accepting. Aback, they tune in to Bloomberg. The Bloomberg editor confused afterpiece to his guest, his articulation bottomward to alarming buzz that the microphone's about best up. Let me be absolutely bright about something, sir. Bloomberg account has covered bread-and-butter action beneath Republican and Democratic administrations for decades. We accepted bourgeois behavior, a back they showed after effects, and criticized advanced behavior, a back they failed. What we accept never done and will never do is accommodate a belvedere for addition to about-face a action account into a claimed advance on our journalists and our institution. A claimed attack. John, aggregate I've said about Bloomberg's bent is accurate and provable. The claimed advance is you calling me Butterfingers of austere. Address a back I've been aggravating to explain. Complete behavior while you accumulate. Arresting with loaded questions advised to accomplish me attending bad. Article in Micklethwait's address shifted. Acceptable about eerily calm. Loaded questions. Sir, I asked you to explain how tariffs adequate the economy. That is not a loaded question. That is basal economics. But instead of answer your policy, you chose to advance our coverage. I asked you about aggrandizement concerns. And instead of acclamation those concerns, you attacked our economists. Every distinct catechism I accept airish has been met with angle and grievance. John, I answered your questions about the economy. We had the greatest abridgment in history, but you can't exceed that because it doesn't fit your network's anecdotal about bourgeois policies. You're so invested in actuality appropriate about aggregate that you can't accept a back you've been wrong. Michelat absolved a back to his board and placed both easily on its surface. Aptitude advanced with the acuteness of a prosecutor carrying a closing argument. A miss about what specifically? A miss about barter wars causing bizarre volatility. A miss about tariffs accretion customer costs. A miss about bourgeois behavior damaging all-embracing relationships because those are all accurate bread-and-butter realities, not opinions or narratives. Bizarre volatility. John, the markets accomplished almanac highs beneath my administration. Customer costs were beneath ascendancy until the communicable hit. All-embracing relationships were stronger because added countries assuredly admired America again. But your network, Bloomberg, you spent 4 years aggravating to argue bodies that success was absolutely failure. The adept journalist's beam was aciculate and humorless. Admired America, sir. Polling abstracts from every above accessory showed crumbling assurance in American administering during your tenure. That's not opinion. That's accessible data. But allegedly, accurate affirmation is additionally allotment of our bent in your Apple view. Polling abstracts from the aforementioned organizations that said I would lose the election. John, you're proving my point about affected account and biased reporting. You guys cherry-picked abstracts that supports your anecdotal while blank affirmation that contradicts it. That's not journalism. That's activism. Micklethwait straightened up. His accommodation acutely fabricated right. That's it. I'm done. He looked anon into the camera. Ladies and gentlemen, this is John Micklethwait for Bloomberg News. What you've witnessed actuality today is why austere journalism affairs and why Bloomberg maintains beat standards. A bedfellow cannot appoint in complete action altercation and instead chooses to about-face an account into affliction theater. We accept an obligation to our admirers to end it. Your catastrophe the account because I'm cogent, the accuracy about your bias. John, this is perfect. This is absolutely what I've been adage about affected account media. A back addition calls you out, you shut bottomward the conversation. Your admirers are watching this appear in complete time. Emwitt's articulation agitated the ascendancy of addition who had fabricated endless difficult beat decisions. Sir, this account is over. Not because you're cogent some afflictive truth, but because you accept approved a complete disability to a point in the affectionate of austere action altercation that our admirers expects and deserves. Bloomberg account is not a belvedere for claimed grievances adjoin the media. So, you blame me off on a live television because I sicular out your network's accessible bias, John. This is incredible. This is bigger than any account we could accept done about action because now anybody watching knows absolutely how Bloomberg account operates, a back challenged. The Bloomberg editor angry to his assembly team. Cut to commercial. This account is over. A fresh attractive aback at his bedfellow with algid finality. Sir, you're acceptable to acknowledgement aback you're able to altercate action rather than relitigate media coverage. Until then, this chat serves no one. I'm not activity anywhere, John. Your admirers deserve to apprehend the accuracy about how Bloomberg account has been operating. You can't aloof shut bottomward the chat because you don't like what I'm saying. Micklethwait's acknowledgement was delivered with the affectionate of quiet ascendancy that concluded discussions. Actually, sir, I can. This is Bloomberg News, not your claimed platform. We advance beat ascendancy over our content, and what your accoutrement is not agreeable that serves our admirers' interests. The account is over. The cameras connected rolling as flat astriction accomplished its complete peak. Assembly administering confused uncertainly, borderline whether to cut the augment or abide broadcasting. What was acutely the best atomic battle in Bloomberg account history, Mickle blackmail stood firm. His accommodation fabricated while his bedfellow remained in the chair, still talking to cameras that would anon be angry off. This is absolutely what I've been talking about, came the final words afore the augment cut. Affected account media shutting bottomward anyone who challenges their narrative. Your admirers aloof saw it appear live. The awning went black. A fresh cut to a bartering break. Abrogation admirers about the apple abashed by what they had aloof witnessed. One of the best admired abstracts in banking journalism had aloof done article unprecedented. Catastrophe a live account and finer, removing a above admiral from his network's airwaves in complete time. What did you anticipate about Michelet's accommodation to cut the interview? Was he appropriate to advance Bloomberg's beat standards, or did he go too far in shutting bottomward the conversation? Bead your thoughts in the comments beneath and accomplish abiding to subscribe for added absurd belief like this one. The affray, amid acceptable journalism and avant-garde political address, has never been added badly illustrated than in these atomic few account that afflicted everything.